Thanks for staying with us. We still have Honorable Minister Fashola with us.
If you were driving from Shagamu towards Lagos and you were going at 100 kilometers per hour, you cannot expect that when you get to the construction zone, you'll be driving at the same speed. So people must understand that there will be some slowdown. And it is in that slowdown that how we behave becomes very, very important. And that is really what causes the lockdown. Impatience sometimes also vehicles just break down. Sometimes, and so this is the responsibility of the Federal Road Safety Corps, who have statutory responsibility for law enforcement. And one of the things I've said publicly is that the time has come really to begin to enforce compliance with road safety law, especially to ensure first that only properly certified drivers are on the road. A lot of people driving who shouldn't be driving. So that's part of the gridlock and behavior and impatience and all of that. But this will go clearly in a matter of a few months.
So as a follow-up, sir, just to see if this could help, would it have helped if they were moving building materials at night, at hours where traffic was a bit slower? Or, you know, could they even have used lights to light up the area and work at odd hours to ease
all of this have been done at some point or the other. But if you understand construction, there are certain things you can't do at night in construction. So yes, you can move the materials at night in some places, but there are some things you just can't do at night. There are some things that can be done at night. So, and we've tried all of these options, and each one has, none of it is free of its challenges, and we're doing the best we can in the circumstances. Even also, you might not be aware of it, and I don't think the public wants to know this. The public just wants to know when it's going to be done. So prices of construction materials have moved. So again, diesel I think used to be 160 something or 200, and it's moved. So the contractors are saying, look, we can't deliver this. So again, we have to start a process of revising the contract costs. So we've had a lot of that going back to FEC, without going back to BPP, and this is a queue. So sometimes when you hear me complain about our procurement laws and how it has slowed down the development of the country, these are some of the things. But hey, the reason why we have this job is to get it done.
Yes. So still on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, we commend the work that's going on, but as we had already mentioned, there are some human interest issues that come up. And one of the things that have been major, especially around construction areas, is security. Because of the gridlock and, you know, people, some unscrupulous people would take advantage. And I would just like to know, now that the barriers have been put back in place, the traffic is back, what would we be doing, what would your ministry be doing differently in collaboration with the other agencies to make sure that in 2023, passengers, commuters do not go through those security issues that we had last year?
I like the in collaboration part because it clearly underlies your knowledge and appreciation of the fact that I am not in charge of the security. And there have been initiatives in the past, and not only on this route, but across other routes too. And we also are aware that subnational governments, state governments, are also mobilizing support and resources. If you follow the conversation towards the end of Christmas, Lagos, Ogun, and Oyo, through the Amotekun and related law enforcement corps, mobilized there. One government, I think it was said, they were even deploying some level of technology to monitor, provide surveillance. So all of this is work being done to ensure that ultimate safety of all the commuters who use the road.
All right, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue with our conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We still have Honorable Minister Fashola with us. Congratulations on the second Niger Bridge. It opened to the public. I mean, lots of Nigerians were really happy to be able to go home, you know, with ease. Our question is, we're hearing that not all parts of the road are opened, that they're still waiting for it. There's a final phase. And we're also asking, How many more of these big projects across the country are we expecting before the end of this administration?
So, I think I'd like to start by asking us to ask ourselves, between 1999 and 2015, what did the government at the center promise Nigerians? Can you remember something? Whether it was 7-point agenda, they changed to 5-point agenda. Whether it was Vision 2010, they changed to Vision whatever. It was just a cacophony of unclarity. Now, ask yourself, between that, what did they promise? Because people now hold us to security, economy, and anti-corruption. And this says a lot about this government. It's clear definition of the problem before it came into office. So when people now say, oh yes, they have done infrastructure, but the economy. The truth is that we didn't campaign on infrastructure. We campaigned on the economy. And there's no way you're going to build an economy without addressing the fundamentals of the infrastructure. Whether it's export or import business, it needs ports, it needs roads, it needs bridges, it needs seaports, it needs airports and so on. So this is the purpose of infrastructure. So when people talk about poverty, multidimensional and monetary policy, the second Niger Bridge and all the other infrastructure are examples of clarity of choices and investments to address poverty, both the multidimensional and the monetary. So let me speak to that. The old bridge has had its capacity dwarfed. When it was built, this economy was not this big, the population was not this large, businesses were not this many. And so that poverty will continue unless there is a new bridge. And that bridge has been the subject of promises at the time when there were prolific oil revenues. But this president, this government have said whatever it takes, including repatriating stolen money, we'll put it in that bridge. So opening it up in the solution, which is the construction of the bridge, actually works. Because the choice was build another bridge. And even though there's 3 or 4 kilometers of connecting road, dual carriage connecting road to the Asaba end, there's a construction road that we were using to move materials. And we thought, why not? The bridge is ready. Let people use it. And the relief and the impact was very, very well received. And it just shows now we're going to close down. So that was the purpose, to make life better, to reduce journey time. You shouldn't spend 18 hours crossing a 2-kilometer river. That is the whole purpose of that bridge. And it clearly shows that President Buhari has the solution to that problem. Now, in terms of poverty, let us deal with the monetary poverty. For about 7 years during the construction, over 4,000 people were directly employed on that bridge. So that deals with monetary poverty. I had said on this show, 19 million liters of diesel was used to construct that bridge. That diesel was not supplied by Julius Berger. They're subcontractors. So that's how you see an economy. And you can't imagine the quantity of reinforcement, iron, rod, cement, and the supplementary business. Now, on the multi-dimensional side, so what used to take 18 hours to cross, time loss, business inefficiency, it was now a few minutes. So you will see ease of doing business, efficiency. So when people are talking about inflation, I wonder whether we focus on cost-push inflation as a measure of how long it takes to get things done. This is the answer, or this is part of the answer, in infrastructure nationwide.
Just as a follow-up, some have criticized that, this administration did not start the second Niger Bridge. At what state was it when you took over, if truly that's the situation? The
abutment, which is where you want to start climbing the bridge, was being constructed, just the abutment. So all the piling works were done by this government. And it really doesn't matter for me whether you say who starts it. We don't own it. Nigerians own it. The truth is that Nigerians needed it. There was a period of about 7 years where we were earning over $100 per barrel from oil. If it was such an important priority for you, why didn't you do it? So to now start bickering, oh, you didn't start it, you finish it, it's been done.
And we own it, Nigerians.
Nigerians own it.
There's one other work that you have done that I must confess I wasn't really aware of this until, you know, I read a report where you're saying we're talking about the second Niger Bridge, but there is one particular one we should also be celebrating. That's the Loco-Oweto Bridge. So that's the bridge that crosses over the river Benue, and it links the north to the south. Please, could you just elaborate on this for us?
Okay, so when I took office in 2015, Loco-Oweto was a project that was already awarded, but it wasn't funded, so no work was being done. So I went there to see, and no bridge had been built. And I then told the contractors to just start work, and that we will find monies for them. So if you saw my last trip, you see signs of the sukuk. Okay. So that's where the money largely came from, to build that bridge. Okay. So when we are talking about borrowing and debt, people forget that there was public debt of over 12 trillion when this government took office. But where was the infrastructure? So if you are talking about debt now, you are seeing a second Niger Bridge, you are seeing a Loco-Oweto Bridge, you are seeing Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, you are seeing 4-5 new airports, you are seeing a seaport, you are seeing investment into a refinery to help private sector conclude and stop the importation of crude oil. That's part of what accounts for the debt.
Okay.
And this is the investment that is going to release Nigeria's economy long after Buhari is gone. Loco-Oweto is so defining. As I said, there's a lot of emotion, and because it was based on failed promises, and one understands it about the second Niger Bridge, it was always a political tool. Yeah. And so I understand the emotion about it. But Loco-Oweto is as big, if not bigger, than the second Niger Bridge. Because if you're coming from the east of Nigeria and you are coming to Abuja through Benue and through Nasarawa, you will have to drive before this bridge into Lafia, even if you had no business in Lafia, before you get to Kefi. Now, what this bridge has done is to obviate the need to go into Lafia, and you will cross the bridge from Oshogbedo in Benue, land in Loco, and drive straight to Kefi. That would have cut off 4 hours from your journey time. So if you are talking economics and you are a transporter and you gain 4 hours saving, clearly you will see it over the years later in the cost of goods and services.
Let me go on Twitter quickly. So our tweets are coming in, and everybody on this side of the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway are tweeting and asking the minister why the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway was abandoned as compared to the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. What exactly was the priorities like when you decided the state of which it is now? Most tweets are referring to both state governors on both ends, saying it's a federal road, and so they are absorbing themselves of not investing anything.
Okay, so let me start first by saying that I hear the concerns about Lagos-Abeokuta, and there are people that we should have asked since 1999 why Lagos-Abeokuta was not built. But that's looking back. We're looking forward. I can say categorically on this seat that all the roads that lead into and out of Lagos as a strategic commercial capital of Nigeria are receiving one form of attention or the other. And before I come to Lagos or Abeokuta, let me tell you about Ikorodu to Shagamu. Let me tell you about Lagos to Badagry. Let me tell you, and we have spoken about Lagos-Ibadan. So Lagos to Abeokuta is the last one. Again, the contractor had abandoned site when we came, and we revived it, and we're putting the sukuk into it, and I think this last sukuk, there was about 7 billion in it. So we don't have all of the money to build it. Now, I understand that there is much pain on the Ogun side, but on the Lagos side, work is going on. So the contractor is constructing from Lagos towards Ogun, and it is the Ogun side where you will see all the potholes and the pain, because the contractor hasn't reached there. In a matter of weeks, I am hopeful, touch wood, that we will have a more enduring financing solution, not only to Lagos or Abeokuta, but also to Akure and Ado-Ekiti. In a matter of weeks, we should have a financing solution. And once that is done, whether we are there in government or not, those roads will be constructed. Okay. So that is what I am working on now.
Could you explain to Nigerians why we would need to toll the Lagos-Ibadan road, the second Niger Bridge. As you know, Nigerians, we don't like to hear that we have to be paying extra for plying our road. After all, it's our own. So why do we need to do this?
Well, I think that, first of all, is to understand that out of about 200,000 plus kilometers, the total quantity of roads that will be under the tolling policy approved by government is barely 5% of that. So it's not such a large volume of roads that will be tolled. But Lagos or Ibadan, for example, was built as a toll road in any event from day one. And when we also want to sustain quality of service, maintenance, and all of that, I think it is only sensible that those type of roads that have high volumes of traffic can be subject to those kind of commercial policies in order not just to raise revenues to maintain the roads, but tolling and its concomitant services are also part of economic expansion and creation. Tolling itself globally is a business. So it's not my children or the president's children who will be managing, operating the toll stations. But that's new employment. We have to continue to open up all of the possible vistas of economic opportunities in this country. We can't just stay with agri, oil, tech, and all of that. We haven't opened up the economy of sports, for example. And so there's so much. We really have no business with the challenges we're facing. But one after the other, once you build the foundation, which is infrastructure, you can't have sports also without journeys to stadium, to theaters, and all of that. So the fundamentals are what this government is putting in place. And I challenge any of our opponents to provide an alternative solution. And I haven't heard it. How can you run an economy without infrastructure? Whether you want to import, whether you want to expand, whether you want to produce, whatever you want to do.
I've always heard complaints about, from the government especially, that people steal materials from sites. Where people have been unpatriotic in many ways. Even burning, I hear that some people burn some of these things under the bridges. What have you done to mitigate this going forward?
Well, they manifest themselves in many ways. In terms of stealing, for example, we have gone back to research and development. We've seen that some of the aluminium rails have commercial secondary value, so we've taken them out. You see that most of the rails on bridges now are concrete. Okay. We've seen, for example, that wrought iron, which is used to build grates and manholes, have commercial secondary value. It's just a mentality that we must get rid of. But while it is there, we're providing either using concrete and just welding it up, plastering it or sealing it up to ensure that citizens, commuters, road users don't then get injuries as a result of accidents that happen. But long-term solution is a total education and mindset change starting from the primary school that, look, these assets really are not worth the effort.
Yes.
You are.
So talking about durability again, based on just the example that you gave, the Loco-Oweto Bridge Akpongo End example, how durable are these new bridges, and to avoid this kind of human factor damages that we suffered there, what are you doing to secure so that there are no activities of human existence under the bridges, so that we don't fall back on this kind of things? And then when is Akpongo Bridge likely to be reopened? Okay,
this is a multi-way question. Okay, this is a multi-way solution. So we can point our fingers at the people who turned the under Akpongo Bridge into a market, right? And where they were cooking, they were selling. But look, what were they selling around Akpongo? Alcoholic beverages. They are not cheap. So it was the rich and the elite of this country who chose to shop there.
From under the bridge? To buy it from
the neighborhood too. Okay. Ulogo, Ofe, and all of that. That's my neighborhood. So again, we can point fingers at those people, yes, but some of the fingers should be pointing at ourselves too. Because by patronizing those markets, we have lost a major transport asset. Everybody is now suffering.
Seriously.
And in terms of when it will be ready, we were hopeful that we could finish it before Christmas, But most of the equipment that we imported or fabricated locally to restore the safety of the pillars suddenly had to be diverted to the Ijora fire. When that happened, you see how all those steel frames were made, so we had to quickly, because that became a bigger emergency in the Ijora fire.
Right.
And so we have to re-import, refabricate. So we're looking at sometime handing over 4 new federal secretariats. They're massive projects in Oka in Anambra, in Lafia in Nasarawa, in Bayelsa, in Yenegua in Bayelsa, and in Gusau in Zamfara State. We will also have the Zuba housing estate in Abuja, 78 blocks, 748 housing units in there. And this is just one part. In the last 12 months, he has asked his ministers to go to their states to hand over the National Housing Program projects, which have been completed. Some are in phase 1, some are in phase 3, depending on the land that we get from the states. And this has happened in many states. It was from those houses, for example, that the Super Eagles pledge and promise made 28 years ago to redeem, give them houses, that this president has redeemed that pledge. He has redeemed that of Westhoff and who are the other coaches. So this is going on in 35 states, and the ministers in each state are going to hand over and commission. People are already buying using our online portal. But that is only part of the story. We have a 6,000 or 7,000 housing unit program across Nigeria completed through one of our subsidiaries, the Federal Mortgage Bank, one of our parastatals, sorry, the Federal Mortgage Bank. The Federal Housing Authority is also building in sites and service and buildings in different parts of the country. So, and if people care to go to our website, you will see the details of all of this. So we are lifting as much as we can in housing, as we are lifting in the roads and transport sector. But bear in mind also, at the end of the day, whether it's an office, whether it's your house, it's a destination. And you need the transport infrastructure to get there.
But
I'll just, can I ask, just, it was already asked, but you did not talk about it, and it's how Nigerians feel about some things when it's done. Like, I personally, to hear that, oh, you're building houses in places that we cannot reach, sounds funny to me, but can the government tell Nigerians why that was why that's the option?
So I like to know specifically, where is this place that
Lagos.
people cannot reach? Where?
We cannot get our own in Lagos.
No, because, so let's understand first how this national housing program started. The terms of engagement were clear. I have letters I wrote to the governors when we started, which was that give us 5 hectares of land and no more than 10 hectares. Give us those sizes of land where there is an access route or where you plan to build an access road. Our government is not responsible for building local roads. We are responsible for building interstate roads. So we will build the federal road that comes into that state. And this was the basis of that partnership. Now, the fact that there is no access road there in a third road does not mean that there won't be. Does not mean that there won't be. And if we don't continue to open out, build up, we always remember that we are supposedly about 200 million people. But I don't know if we are paying attention to the fact that we are densing up and we need to open out. And so, again, otherwise...
So I'm hearing you say that it's the government of the state that should open up those roads so that people can access the places that
wherever
given
that
to
kind
you
of problem
to build.
exists.
Yes.
We have built the estate road.
Yes. Now build the inter. Okay.
Okay, you mentioned just earlier about building of refineries, building of an extra port terminal, I think. Just now when you were talking about other projects under the ministry, aside roads.
They're not under my ministry, they are
under the government. Okay, please kindly elaborate on.
So what I was saying was that, look, this economic message and plan of our party, our government, led by the president, is hinged first on building the infrastructure that makes the economy work. If you are an importer or an exporter and the port is not efficient, you are poor. So that speaks to the new Lekki seaport, where again government is giving support. If we are importing petroleum products, that is putting at least, as at the last check, a 30% demand on our need for foreign exchange, which we are not earning enough of. So government has said, okay, Dangote Group, what can we do? It says, I need some investment support. Government has put some equity to close out that project so that we start producing our petrol locally. So if this happens, one of the things you will see is an appreciation in the price of the naira to the dollar because demand has reduced by a component of close to 30%. So, and if you look at the Apapa-Orunshoki Expressway, that leads to the biggest seaport and the busiest in Nigeria. So that road had broken down in 2015 when we came. So how can you import? How can you produce? How can you export? So the last missing piece is the electricity, and it's a work in progress.
Let me go on a quick break. In fact, you just
electricity.
got a few things I want to happen. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right.